Hi, and welcome to the ChangeMaker Collective podcast. I am your host, Lee Mitchell, and today I'm so excited to welcome you to a amazing conversation on the power of presence and vulnerability. And I'm going to start by introducing my dear friend, Bobby Umar. Bobby and I go way back. We've been producing, yes, we've been producing events for many years together, and we're actually going to be producing a incredible event in Toronto on Wednesday, where we are going to be diving really deep into this conversation. So, Bobby, why don't you start by introducing yourself and telling our listeners what they're going to expect from our incredible conversation today and also on Wednesday in person.
Sure. I've been running the Toronto LinkedIn local meetups for since 2017, and we've covered a broad range of topics from storytelling, personal branding, finances, small business ownership, women breaking barriers, a lot of really, really powerful stuff. And we have some amazing people over the years. Typically, there's panels, there's speakers, there's networking. And the idea is to take the LinkedIn, networking piece, which is online, and make it real and in person. And so, we did one, so we do them maybe like 3, 4 times a year. And at this point, we've done 27 of them since 2017. And it's been a great way to meet new people and hear amazing speakers and stories. And then, Jose and I have known each other for a long time in the speaker circuit. And we were at the last event, and we were talking about his film. And I was like, you know what? That'd be cool. Imagine doing like an event where there's actually a screening of the film, and we talk about the powerful stories that are there. And so that's kind of how it came about. And I was pretty excited about it because, excuse me, I've never done a film screening before, but the documentary is pretty short. It's about 50 minutes long. We can also we'll hear from Samra Zuffer as a speaker. We'll hear from Jose and her as myself talking about courage, resilience, and stories. And I think it's a great way to network and inspire people. So I just think it's a really amazing way to really support the movie as well as the film and the directors and the producers, as well as support Jose and do something different for the Toronto community, the arts community, and the LinkedIn community. So I'm super excited about it.
Same with me. Honestly, the topic it really gave me goosebumps, and so Jose, I'd love to have your take on what made you produce such a powerful documentary, which I see is on CBC Gem.
Thank you, and forgive me for the background noise. I'll start by saying that I have a stutter. If you are watching this online, your internet is working just fine. I happened to have met a filmmaker called Josiane Blanc, who's also a friend of uh, Bobby here, about 8 years ago, early on in my journey of challenging myself to work on my stutter through public speaking and stand-up comedy. And it was her idea 8 years later, after receiving funding from different groups like Hot Docs and the CBC. Eventually, the film had its premiere in Toronto last October, and then had its US premiere in New York this past March. It, it, it got nominated for 3 Canadian Screen Awards. So it's been very unexpected, considering I spent most of my life avoiding speaking?
Well, I can personally relate to your challenges. Well, I should say that I don't know what it's like to be in your shoes, but at the same time, I can appreciate and empathize and also congratulate you on your bravery and your willingness to work on yourself. When I started my business over, oh my goodness, 15 years ago, one of the things that was the most terrifying for me was to have to speak in public settings. In fact, for the first several years, I actually would always hire MCs to uh, be on stage and speak for me. But after a long time in self-reflection, I found my way. And for me, my way is dancing. Bobby knows that I'm a dancer, and it's my way of calming my nerves. And so whenever I hit the stage, you'll often see me dancing to stage because it's my way of getting out of my head and into my body. And so I just applaud you for taking this challenge on. And while I don't have your specific challenges, I do know what it feels like to not feel good enough, and question whether I belong in that space. And so your story, it resonates with me and with, I'm sure, so many people that maybe have been challenged around that, in whatever their thing is, right? Maybe it's they're shy and don't want to attend events and they have social anxiety, or maybe they have a disability that keeps them from easily being able to communicate. Maybe they're neurodiverse. We all have our thing. And I just love that you have come up with this mission to help others find their voice. So, on that note, Bobby, tell me a bit about your journey in being vulnerable. I know that you yourself have come out with a lot of vulnerable moments, many of which I have personally, shared with you around things that you have been challenged in, and I know that you've been very public about it. So tell me about your experience with being vulnerable.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, look, vulnerable storytelling has been a big part of my life, especially since I've been doing TEDx talks. I've done 5 TEDx talks, and I've also been asked to do 3 other TEDx talks. And when the first time it came up, I kind of shared a story. And I remember the vulnerability piece came to me the first time. I was doing a speaker event with my speaker friends, Drew Dudley, Mark Black, and Blake Fleischacker. And the 4 of us were doing this event. And I remember we were on the panel, and the people were asking questions. There were like several hundred people there. And then someone asked a question, and I decided to go dark. I was like, you know what? It's okay. I've had dark days. I've had those days where I spend the entire day just watching TV, wasting time. And all of a sudden, it's 4 o'clock. I'm watching Oprah. I'm like, what's wrong with me? Like, how have I wasted this entire day? And I feel like crap. And I just say, you know what? I need to forgive myself, cut myself some slack, realize it happens to everybody, and I need to move on. And let me just get a good night's sleep, and I'll try again tomorrow. And when I shared in that very moment, the next thing you know, the audience was surprised to hear this inspirational, motivational speaker who can be very energetic, dynamic on stage, share something so deep and heartfelt and vulnerable. And as soon as I did that, the other 3 started sharing their dark stuff too. And I realized, okay, this is something I can do. And then what happened was, when I was struggling with my binge eating and my body image issues, because I'm diabetic too. I remember I took my daughter to RCM for a music class, and I was feeling really bad about myself. So I wrote this post, kind of like a manifesto, and I called it "What the F is Wrong with Me?" And I laid out the fact that I was binge eating, I was keeping secrets from my family, and eating like at 4 o'clock, and then dinner again at 6 o'clock. And I would binge at McDonald's. I would just, to the point of convulsions and feeling bad about myself. I hated my body. I was on 4 meds, and I felt like I was out of control, and I wasn't sure whether to share that, with a few people or whatever. I decided to click public and send, and I sent it. And I promptly forgot about it because I was with the kids for a couple hours. I came back home. There was hundreds of messages, hundreds of comments, people reaching out. And next thing you know, that started my whole Fit in My Life journey. And I think, since that time, and then LinkedIn was the third one where someone was doing this. I think it was called "Let's Get Honest" campaign by Swish Goswami, who's actually the founder of the Toronto LinkedIn Local movement. And he nominated me to share. And on LinkedIn, which is more professional, I've never, Facebook is my friend, so it was different, right? LinkedIn, I was like, okay, fine. So I decided to share the same thing. And again, same thing, like people really, really resonated. And there's people like, wow, I feel that way too, or I've been there. And so, having been on that journey, I realized that, storytelling is one thing. Being vulnerable and sharing your really powerful challenges is a deep connector and a deep motivator for a lot of people. And for me personally, it keeps me accountable. So it's vulnerable storytelling has become one of the things that I talk about a lot.
I have to say it's really helped me to feel more at peace with, the challenges that I have. I know that I personally have come out with, challenges and spoken publicly about my anxiety and mental health challenges. And I've shared, intimate things about, some things around addiction that you worry about being judged. But ultimately I think that it's really amazing to be able to be your true self and to feel a sense of power from just being who you are. And some people are going to love you and some people aren't, but when you share your true self, then you're going to attract the people that are meant to be in your life. And that's you, Bobby, and Jose. That's definitely you as well. You and I aren't too acquainted with each other, but I'm sure that we're going to be friends. And I think part of that is from just connecting on a very true, real level. So, tell me a little bit more about your documentary. How did you use comedy and public speaking as a tool for transformation that led to this documentary?
First of all, loved what Bobby shared earlier. I've had a similar experience when I started being more open about my challenges with my stutter, for example. It elicited a response of reciprocity from others, in the sense that they felt more compelled to share their own challenges with me. So I can relate to that aspect of it. In terms of the film and comedy, I have found that using humor has empowered me to accept or own what makes me different on the one hand, while also allowing me to connect with other people. Whereas in the past, I would have chosen isolation and not interacting or engaging with others out of the fear of being judged for sounding or being different. So comedy played a big role. Uh, I know Bobby also has a background in comedy.
Just a little bit, just a little bit.
I have to say, Bobby was instrumental in helping me to get my kids into improv, and they're both comedians. So is my husband. But my son actually had a stuttering problem when he was in grade 4. And one of the recommendations was to do improv. So he went to Bad Dog Theater, and he also went to Second City, and then my other son did it. And I think the power of improv, the power of finding your voice, especially in spontaneous ways. I'll say one of the reasons why I do the podcast and why I specifically do live streaming is because I am a bit of a perfectionist. I worry about getting it wrong, and I'll, feel like I have to do something over and over and over again before I'll actually release it. So there's something about being live that propels you forward and allows you to just move beyond having to be perfect, because perfection is just not the way to move forward, because it stops us in our tracks. And so I really think that when we find different techniques to get us unstuck, it can be very powerful. Bobby, do you have anything to share on that? I'm sure that you've probably been stuck at different times in your life. And what do you do to move forward?
Well, I mean, I think whenever you're dealing with, I mean, talking about resilience and courage or going through something that's really challenging, I mean, the most important thing you'll ever have is really understanding the support network that you have.
Hmm.
And sometimes you may not see it because it's not there in your family and it's not there with your close friends. So how do you have to reach out and find those allies that are going to help you, get to where you want to go. And but having a support network to me is incredibly important. And over the years, I've kind of built up different ones, like similar to when I had a burnout or when I had other issues. Having that support network goes a long way. And number two, reaching out for help and asking for help when you need to, whether it's professional help or even just personal help. In that post about what that was wrong with me, I was literally asking for help. I said I need help, and just even asking that question goes a long way. And I think the third thing that is probably the most important one is finding a way to own what you're doing, right? So I own the different things that I'm doing by sharing it, and one of the things I remember about Jose when I met him, because back in the day we met talking about speaking, and he was a super, super amazing former student of mine, surpassed the teacher, and but he was asking so many questions. But one of the things that we talked about back in the day was, owning. How do you own the stutter? How do you own the comedy? How do you own that part of a story? And you know, I think he's done an amazing job at that. And Jose, maybe you can talk a bit about that, like in the early days, like how you decided to, figure that out and how you decide to own it, because I think that's a huge part of your story.
Absolutely. So, for doing uh, my first TEDx talk, I received an email a week or two after it was published, and it was an email that said, "We have an event in June. What's your fee for 45 minutes?" And at the time, I was not really thinking about speaking as a profession. So that was the first indication that, oh, this thing I've been doing to challenge myself could become a vocation. And I, 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 I had mentors, including Bobby, and in terms of owning the comedy, the stutter, I do think ultimately it was about crafting this unique path based on the components that made up my journey. Born and raised in Lebanon, with the stutter, got into stand-up comedy. So all these components made up this total lived experience that I ended up in incorporating in my keynote speeches at organizations around the world.
Wow. I love that story. I love how you got your start, and I love that Bobby was there with you along your journey. Uh, so that we touched on mental health, and May being Mental Health Month. How do you, as entrepreneurs, and people that are out in the public eye, how do you protect your mental health? What are some techniques, and what are some challenges that you've had along the way? I'll start with myself, and then I'll pass it to Bobby. So for me, I definitely have been challenged by mental health my whole life, and I have really tried to feel at peace with that life is meant to be challenging. I think that we all have this weird expectation, or this unnecessarily um unrealistic view of what it means to be a human, and that we're supposed to always be happy, and that life is supposed to be easy. But what we do know about the human experience is that it is actually very challenging, and that it is more the norm that it's life is going to be challenging than it is going to be easy. And so I think when we address that expectation of what we want life to be, and what it actually is, and what our challenges are, and how we adapt and cope with them, I think that we open ourselves up to real transformation. So for myself, I try to really focus on doing being kind, being careful how I speak to myself, surrounding myself with people who are understanding and non-judgmental, and have a more curious mindset than a intense mindset around, judging people without really being kind, or being making assumptions about people. I think that's a big thing that we sometimes do. And so I try not to judge others, and I try to surround myself with people who are non-judgmental, and try to embrace a curious mindset. And for me, I try to incorporate exercise, good sleep, and ongoing therapy, to keep me as uh, impactful as I possibly can. And sometimes that means taking a step back when I need to. Sometimes it means rearranging my schedule if I'm feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes it's being honest, sometimes it's saying no. But those are some strategies that I think have really helped me. So I would love to hear, uh, Jose, how you focus on your mental health. Those are some of my techniques.
Thank you for sharing those techniques. I often say in my speeches that, on the one hand, yes, my message is all about overcoming fear, doing things we find uncomfortable, but we also have to find a healthy balance between that action orientedness on the one hand and cultivating mental wellness on the other hand. Things that have helped me along the way include meditation, do I meditate at the moment every single day? No, I did, but whenever I have gone through periods of mental health challenges, anxiety, depression, I have made it a point to do it every day or as often as I can. It's one, two, exercise. Every time I've worked out, I'm amazed by how simple yet effective that activity can be. Three is quite popular, and that is gratitude. Now I know that it's it's something that a lot of people talk about. I find that sometimes it can be quite simple. If I'm walking around and the sun comes out, I can just so, 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 I can stop walking for a few moments, have the rays of sunshine rest on my face for a few moments as I take a deep breath. So these are so, some of the strategies that I have found helpful. The last thing I'll mention is I I do cold plunges or ice baths on the regular, and those I have found to be surprisingly useful.
I just started doing that myself this year, and yeah, it's a very invigorating feeling. And I'm with you with meditation. It's something that, like you, I don't necessarily do every single day, although I'm trying to make it a regular practice. But it's great to meditate. Doesn't mean that you have to like clear out everything that's in your head. A lot of people say I can't meditate. I've got too much of a busy brain. That's the whole point. That's why we do it, and it's just keep going back to our breath, and it is such a powerful tool, and it's something that you always have access to, unless, and if you don't, then yeah, there's a problem. So our breath is a very powerful tool. Bobby, what about yourself?
Well, I think I want to comment on that thing. I mean, no matter what you're going through and how deeply challenging it is, disturbing it is, hard it is, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to watching the film, because Jose has done a good job of just basically saying, like, uh, for his big challenge, just breathing has been a huge part of the solution. And in the power of that breath, there's also probably gratitude. So I think just those two simple concepts are incredibly amazing, and that's kind of why um, that's why I'm really excited about this event. And I want to make sure we promote the event because it is on May 14th, downtown Toronto. It's called Toronto LinkedIn Local Meetup, and we're focusing on resilience and courage and building that up through stories and inspiring people like Jose, as well as Dr. Samra Zafar is going to come share her story about domestic abuse and how she overcame that. So you're going to meet two amazing speakers. That we're going to show a full 50-minute documentary film. That's an award-winning one. And then we're going to have a panel and we're going to have really powerful conversations. So I hope you guys will check this out and come by because I think it's going to be a really amazing conversation. For those who are in Toronto or near Toronto, definitely tell your friends. And I shared the link in the LinkedIn post here, but I'll try to share it other places as well. But you can follow me and Jose and see where the links are. But I think the breathing / gratitude thing, like in one 5-second, 10-second breath, like imagine just what that can do. Like that blows my mind. And then I think the other thing I'll say is, you guys are big on the health kicks, right? So the cold plunges, the running, the working out, and all that kind of stuff. And that's something I struggle with. I'll be honest, I still do. It's been but one of the things I realized it's my lifelong struggle as opposed to trying to eliminate it. I realized long ago about binge eating that I'll never eliminate binge eating, but I'll have to learn how to manage it. So how do I manage it? Jose manages his stutter. I have to manage the binge eating. And but for me, that that understanding and understanding that, I think goes a long way. So for me, when it comes to, but my point was, I was getting off track here. My point was that this idea of health is so important. I can tell you that every time I have done health challenges or health kicks, and I have lost weight or got my blood sugar down or whatever, it's always better, because a better you is a better everything else. If you're better, then everything else is going to be better. The people you're with, the stuff you're doing, everything. So I applaud you for doing that, and that's also why I'm committed to bettering that in myself.
I'm a big fan of the book Atomic Habits because I find that just doing like something for like a few minutes is a great way to reinforce a habit. I think sometimes we expect too much of ourselves. And so it's like maybe it's just like walking for 5 minutes and doing that for a week and just setting very small, easy to implement goals for yourself. I think that's, yeah. So if you haven't had a chance to check out the book Atomic Habits, it's filled with ways to get around making the changes that you need to make in your life. But Bobby, you don't give yourself enough credit. I know you're hard on yourself, but I think that you do a lot, and you probably are doing more than you give yourself credit for.
Hey, and that actually leads to a really interesting question. Jose, are you ever hard on yourself? And if so, how do you deal with that?
Uh, Absolutely. I do think I can be a perfectionist at times, especially growing up with a stutter. I was under the impression that I should only speak if I knew I could say the thing without stuttering. And if I expected to stutter, it made more sense to not speak at all. So I have definitely been too hard on myself in terms of implementing habits. I do think there's a balance to identify. On the one hand, we we don't want to be completely unstructured with ourselves, because it is much easier to binge watch a TV show for 10 hours than it is to not do that. So some degree of structure is necessary, and that is where things like mindfulness, having access to support, accountability, all those things can help with shaping our day-to-day life in a way that feels healthier. But at the same time, we don't want to let this desire to have good habits to become a new bad habit if we are blaming ourselves for, oh, I did not wake up at 5 a.m. I did not do all those things. I suck. That's also not helpful at all. There are ways to in, in, incorporate these practices into our day in a way that feels manageable. And sometimes we have to meet ourselves where we're at. So I know that some people will even tell you, if you go for a run or a walk, you should go without any source of stimulation like music or a podcast. Now, if you are going through a difficult day, and I mean, maybe on that day you need that extra boost, so you need to have a podcast on to feel some motivation to go outside, go for a walk. So ultimately, I think we need to find that optimal balance between, on the one hand, having structure and discipline, while also not adding an extra obstacle by being mean to ourselves.
I love that. Yeah, in the book Atomic Habits, they talk about stacking habits, and I think that if you can stack something, like, say for example, if you do have to like catch up on some work, but you could do it while you're walking, there's a benefit in that, right? So, you can, there's different ways you can approach the things that you want to accomplish. And sometimes it's convergence, right? Sometimes it's like, I'm going to have a networking event and I'm going to host it in a place where we exercise, right? So it's like the best of both worlds. I wanted,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. So there's lots of ways you can attack being able to benefit what you want to accomplish, and is having a buddy to come along with you. I I've never done a podcast alone. I know some people like to do them alone, but to me, I feel like I hold myself more accountable when I invite people to the party. And so, speaking of parties, we have the big party on Wednesday. And so, Jose, you'll be there, and Bobby will be there, and Dr. Samra, who has written two incredible books, one that is very much on mental health that you have to check out. I got to meet Dr. Samra when I was emceeing an event for Bobby years ago, and at that time she was in financial planning, and then she went back to school, reinvented herself, and became a doctor. And so she's going to
Yeah,
be a
very
part of that
casual.
event. Yeah, isn't that amazing? Love that. Love that. So
It's a hell of a good story. And again, I think that one of the things that people have to understand too is that, LinkedIn Local, we do them every 2, 3 months, but bringing in world class caliber speakers like Jose and Dr. Samara is going to be really huge value for people. So it's only $20. It's in downtown Toronto. You're supporting the film. It's such a really good cause, and these people, Jose and Samara, are giving back and to the community. And that's one of the reasons why I do LinkedIn Locals too, even though I'm a speaker that I travel around the world. I use LinkedIn Local as a way for me to give back to the community, to support them, to inspire them, and so that's why we're doing this. But we're counting on folks to come support this film and support the documentary and support the arts as well as, and that's why these great speakers are coming in to share those insights. So I hope you will take advantage of that and be part of what we're doing next week.
yeah, and if you happen to be checking out this podcast later and it's past the event time, know that we have an event schedule. So our event is listed on the ChangeMakerCo.org website under the events tab. So you can see the event on Wednesday as well as future events. So do check out the Changemaker Collective for upcoming events and tools and training opportunities, and join a community of like-minded individuals, change makers who want to change what matters and lead with impact. So why don't we just have everyone say what their parting words that they want to leave with us before we wrap up today's episode. Jose?
Thank you for having me. I look forward to the event next Wednesday. and hope everyone has a wonderful weekend.
Robbie?
Yeah, so thanks for everybody for sharing this. Look, I mean, if you're willing to share your story and you're willing to share sort of vulnerability, you're going to create a deeper connection. You're going to build stronger communities, and you're going to be able to inspire people to change. And that's a big part of what we're trying to do here. And I'm also grateful for having had a great friendship with you, Lee, with you, Jose, in different ways, and being able to do this together. It's my first time helping run a film screening, so I'm a little bit nervous about it, but that I'm being vulnerable about that because I am a little bit nervous, but I do want people to come check it out, and I think it's going to be a really powerful film. So thanks everyone for being here, and you can check out what I'm doing as well as all these people what they're doing just by following me and everybody else.
Absolutely. So we're all on LinkedIn, and you can share this event. This was live streamed on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. So do us a favor, share this live stream broadcast so that people can know about the amazing work of the documentary and about our event Wednesday at 6 p.m., which will be taking place in downtown Toronto. It's a great opportunity to network, to come together with like-minded people, and to watch a cool, inspiring documentary and hear some incredible conversations on vulnerability. So thanks to everybody for listening, being here live, and until we meet again, do what, sorry, change what matters and lead with impact. Bye, everyone.